I think we're live. Perfect. Hello, everyone. Hi, welcome to another community officer call. Happy to see you all. I'm Christos Baharakis, contributor program manager. And before we begin, today we have a special guest, James Rushford. Before I introduce him, I think it would be nice, like, to introduce ourselves briefly. Where are we? I can begin. I'm based in right now burning Berlin, 35 degrees Celsius and 38, sorry, and melting. So yeah, I'm the contributor program manager, and my role at GitLab is like to help people who want to contribute to GitLab, or they want to, or they've been contributing to make their life easier and rewarding. Yeah, so I'm gonna go through the list of people here on Zoom that we have here, short introductions. So Fatima is after me. Fatima.
Yeah, hi, I'm Fatima. I am a developer evangelist focused on community stuff on the community relations team at GitLab. Excited to be here. Gonna stay off camera because I'm not feeling well today. After me is, I guess we have different lists, but I will pass it to Jamie.
Thank you. So I'm Jamie Rochelle. I also sit on the community relations team with Fatima and Christos. I am an evangelist program manager, and I help with our community engagement in regards to our advocacy program known as the GitLab Heroes, and our meetups, and also our Beyond Code Twitter Space series as well. And I'm going to hand it off to Marshall.
Hi, I'm Marshall Miller. This is actually my first one. I wanted to give it a look. I work in education. I'm the director of online learning for a college in Pennsylvania, and I'm very excited to contribute. And I want to see, we use GitLab at our school, and I kind of just wanted to see how I can give back and contribute. And this looked like a good way to get involved.
Also, Marshall, you want to pick the next person to introduce themselves? Welcome, by the way. Welcome, you all. Marco, want to go next?
Oh, I didn't hear, sorry. Yes, so yeah, I'm Marco. I'm based in Italy, and I've been a contributor for the past almost 4 months. And yeah, basically, this is it. I'm not a web developer. I'm mainly a desktop level developer. Yeah, that's it, basically. My next, Christos, you're after me. So I'm gonna go to Majid, I guess. Sorry for butchering your name.
Yeah, no worries. Okay. Majid. Okay, I'm Majid. I'm a front-end engineer. I'm based in Cairo, Egypt, here, and I'm working with Instablog. And yeah, excited to be here.
Sridhar, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hi guys, I'm Sridhar. I work as a front-end engineer at Beacon Stack. I'm from Bangalore, India. I'm a contributor at GitLab. Excited to be here. Thanks.
Perfect. Then let's hand it over to Daniel.
Yes, Daniel, Daniel, as you want. So guys, I'm Daniel Fonseca. I'm Brazilian guy, but I'm living in Belgium. So I like these changements, and I'm here just to change, try to enter this GitLab world. And I'm software engineer, web developer, full stack, as you want, call me. So I'm here to start to learn how to contribute and get on this gathering. Okay. There's another one that I can see. I can pass my
Let's
word.
go with yeah.
Itamar JP. I don't know, sorry. Itamar, you have.
Okay. They want only to listen. That's okay. I also, if you want to write something, Itamar in GP in the chat, feel free to introduce yourself or in the doc. That's absolutely fine. Hello from Brazil there as well. They're joining from Brazil. Okay, so with no further ado, last but not least, also our main speaker for today, James, drum roll. James Rushford. So yeah, no, James asked me the other day how formal we need to have this call, and I'm like, not formal at all. So I can goof around all day. Sorry about that. So James, the floor is yours.
Cool. So I'm James. I'm from Australia, but I live in Berlin. So I used to work in advertising sales for like 10 years. And then around 3.5, 4 years ago, I started to, I was working on this spreadsheet and I wanted to update it automatically. And my friend who works at GitLab was like, oh, did you know you can use JavaScript in Google Sheets, which I didn't. And then I learned JavaScript so that I could update this spreadsheet. And I really enjoyed it. So I said, well, can you do this as a job full time? And he said, that's pretty much what he did as a front end developer. So I got a internship as a front end developer. That was around 3 years ago. And I just started at GitLab just in April. So I'm new to GitLab. I'm also reasonably new to engineering. So please don't mind my mistakes. So also, I wanted to say that I teach at a volunteer code school in Berlin, but I normally teach beginners. So I have done a bit of quite a lot of live coding, but you're all far more senior than I would normally demonstrate to. So if I don't feel offended if you feel like I'm over explaining some simple things. Yeah, that's me. Do you want me to jump straight in?
Sure.
Great. So I'll share my screen.
Also, while James sharing his screen, if you have any questions, feel free to share them on the chat in Zoom or in the document directly.
Mm-hmm. So to find a issue to work on, I just looked at this list of front-end tasks. And then in the list, I found that most of the ones at the top were already being worked on. So what I did was I changed this to created. I looked for things that were created in the last couple of weeks. So yeah. Created descending. Anyway, so I had to look through before. So I picked something that was reasonably recent. So then the information is going to be up to date and probably nobody's already working on it. So I've picked this task. It's completely separate to what I normally work in. So it's a good way for you to see how I would tackle a task like this, like as a contributor, if you just wanted to pick a task and do it. So what this task is so when you look at the jobs page, you can see the example. Oops. Oh, what's happening here?
The hash, oh, wait, the
yeah. Oh no. Okay, so this takes you to the jobs page. There's a filter that you can set here, but it is not connected to the URL. And what we want to do is connect it to the URL. It's also not connected to the page. So if you say page 2, that also does not stay. So what we want to do is add the search filters into the URL search parameters on this page. So the first thing I wanted to do was I noticed that in in trying to tackle this, we want to make sure that we do it in the most simple way possible. Because if we create like a custom solution for every single part, our code base grows unmanageable. So what we want to do is find a way, is there a way we can achieve this that is writing as little code as possible? That is our goal. So I noticed that when you search for issues, the URL is connected. So where I will start is I will look at how this works and see if we can use that same logic elsewhere. I did run through this before, so I'm going to run through very quickly. It's not quite thinking in real time, but it's sped up for your enjoyment. Otherwise, you'll just see me banging my head against the wall for a while. So the first thing I'm going to do as well before I forget is I'll just create a new branch. You can use the branch name here and create a new merge request. So instead of creating a new merge request, I'm just going to take this branch name and create a new branch so that I don't forget. Cool. So what I want to know is, how does this work and why, like, how does it talk to the URL? So what I'll do first is so now we're in the GDK. So this is running locally. So I want to find out, oh no, that's not good, please. Okay, let's not do that. So I'll show you how I would find, what I want to do is find what is this component called and how does it work. So it's easier to do in the GDK because you can use Vue Dev Tools. So in Vue, you can see that so the way GitLab pages are set up is a little bit unusual because of the complexity of the system. So there's actually 6 different Vue applications running here. So there's, you can see each one. And what we're looking for is this search function. So it's actually in this application, and then it's called jobs filter search. So we'll look at our code for jobs filter search, and that is the search bar that we're actually using. So what I want to do here is work out what is this component called, because I don't know why it's not loading in GDK, but I'm not going to try to work it out while I'm presenting. But what I will do is you can usually take like data QA selector. We can just search for this in our code base and we'll probably find it. I looked for it before, so I'm probably going to find it pretty quickly. So issuable list route, that's the component. So filtered search bar, this is the component that is using, this is the search component that's on the issues page. So what I want to know is, how is this component updating the URL, and can we use that same logic in our code? So we can have a look at the actual component itself. So what I'm doing there is just copying the name and then opening the file. The shortcuts don't work because these are all shortened, but yeah, anyway, it's pretty straightforward. So you can see, so what we're looking for is like, what happens when you do a search, and how does it update the URL? So we can just search in the file for URL params, and then we're going to find a pretty good pretty good indication. So this is a prop. So what's actually happening is issuable list root is being rendered by something else that is handling the prop. So we can find where that is being rendered. It's being rendered in a bunch of places. Let's just look at one. And then again, we want to find the URL, and we want to know, like, how are you doing the URL? So we get a bunch of utilities. So how do these utilities work? So you can read through. Long story short, it's super complex how they work, and it's not really appropriate to use the same logic in our search bar, because this is really specific to this issues page. This happens a lot in GitLab because GitLab is very large and some parts of GitLab are pretty old, and those parts are super complex and not super duplicatable. So when we create new things, we want to make sure that it is duplicatable. We can reuse the same code, but in this case, we can't use the same code. The next thing I would think about is what is the GitLab UI component that we're using to render search, because some GitLab UI components can affect the URL search parameters. Like, for example, if you look at tabs, you can change the URL in the component itself. So what I want to do is, again, find jobs filter search. And this is rendering GitLab filtered search. So this is GitLab UI component. So we can look at the GitLab UI library, which I've shortcutted here, the storyboard. So we're looking for filtered search. So filtered search component, and what we want to know is, can we just add URL search parameters to this? But URL is not on the documents page. It's not a good sign. We can't do that. So one long-term option might be consider adding URL parameters to the filtered search component. So then it would work across all GitLab search bars. We can use the same sort of logic. So you can consider this, and I did consider this, and then I realized the code is actually quite different in each place. So what I want to work out is how does this actually work? So what I want to know is, when we change the status, what's actually happening here? So we can have a look at the jobs filtered search component. So here we have, so on submit, we change filter job by search filters. So we're rendering the search bar from GitLab UI, and we're just attaching some methods to submit. Sorry, one sec. So, okay, so we're not actually changing the filters in this component, but its parent. So again, we're going to copy the name and try to find out, like, is there just one parent of this, or is there a few? Which one are we actually talking about? So we have jobs table app, and we have these two, which are both have spec after it. So spec means the tests. So these are the tests to make sure that this works. So what we actually want is this view component that renders it. And what we should expect here is for it to render jobs filter search, which it does. And what we want to know is, what is it doing when we emit jobs filter by search? What is this method? So we can search for it in the code, and here we can see how the filters work. So we can read through and understand this, but what I actually want to know is like, what is the data structure of filters and how easily can we put it into the search, the URL parameters? Because depending on its complexity, it might have a different setup. So we can have a look, just adding a debugger, and then we'll refresh and we'll add a status and we'll see what it actually says. Oh no, why did I refresh? Please. Okay, I don't know what happened, but let's just hope, just tenuously hope. Yeah, okay, cool. So we have filters we can read. I don't know if this is big enough for you guys to read. So we have ID token 1. I'm not sure what this is doing. The type is status. The value is cancelled and is equal to. So what are we actually doing with this information? We can read in our code a little bit easier. So we are checking the type. So if there's no type, we're giving a warning. Okay, fair enough. And if the type is status, what we're doing is we're adding statuses. So we're adding to the Apollo query the parameters of the parameter statuses, and we're just giving it the filter value data. This took me a little while to understand what it's actually doing, but what it's doing here is adding in the status. So if we look at filter.value.data, we can see it is cancelled. So what we're doing is sending the Apollo query as the status cancelled. So how does this work? We have our Apollo query here. And what we're doing is we're adding the variable in here. This is a little bit confusing. And again, it took me a little while to quite understand what's happening, but I played around with it a little bit here, and I realized, so there's a couple of clues. So this is a really confusing piece of code if you're not really familiar to the GitLab code base. Even if you are, it's quite confusing. So what it's doing is it's creating an event hub event. So what happens, what is an event hub? It's what you need to do if you're running 5 view applications on one page and you want them to talk to each other. Because it's not usual that we have multiple view apps on one page, we have this sort of custom solution that says like, okay, here is an events hub. It has 5 children. The children are the applications, the 5 different applications. So when you run something like job action performed, then you run this function, this. So when this event job action performed is heard, right? We want to run handle job action. So this is super confusing, and again, took me a while to work out. But I'm going to give you the pre-worked out, the fast route of working it out. So I don't know what this is. So I'm going to look for it in the code base and try to find out where it is. So here you can see. So this is where we are. Action cell. This is emitting the event, and then this is very similar. This is listening for the event, and then this is the test. So what we want to know is like, when are you emitting this event, right? So what it's actually doing is, I'll spare you the detail. What it's doing is it's listening for this event when you click finished. And what it does is when you click finished, it it adds some statuses to in the scope. So we can test it by just adding some debuggers and work out when these are being fired. This is literally what I did. So we're going to listen for it. So when we change tabs, we get fetch jobs by status, and we have the scope as an array of success, failed, cancelled. So what this means is, so when we adjust the Apollo query, we're sending it the status of an array of success, failed, and cancelled. So what it will do is filter for any jobs that are either success or failed or cancelled. Okay, so that is how that is working. Let's get rid of those debuggers. And this is, I can't remember what this is doing. It doesn't matter. We'll rush through. We don't have time. So what I want to do is work out. So what I want to do is, for starters, when I get a filter, I want to add it to the URL search parameters. So, and I want to think about the data. How should this be structured? So actually, the only information we consider in the search bar is the status. You can see that by if you, oh, this is just dying all over the place. I don't know why. If you do a search for James, you'll see an error coming up saying raw text is not supported. Please use the search tokens. So we don't actually have to support the raw text. All we need to support is the status. So this would look something like, oops. So what we ideally want to do is have something like this. This is what I did before. Statuses is passed. So when we add a status in the search bar like this, passed, we want that detail to be passed to the URL parameter. So we can do this fairly straightforwardly. That says when you have filtered job by search, well, we're doing these things. Actually, what we want to do is in this. So we want to adjust the URL parameter here because this is a failure warning. And if this doesn't happen, nothing happens. So what we want to do here is update the search parameters. So we can say, we can do this by working out the current URL search parameters. So search params are equal to, and then I can't ever remember how to do it, URL search params. So to read them is get. So this is how it looks. So we have, we're going to have search params equals new search params like this. So I want to do this in the same way that GitLab usually does it. And I don't know what that is. So I'm going to search for URL search params in our code base and look for a similar solution, because there's no way we haven't already used URL search parameters. So I want to use the same structure. So this is how we've done it in template selector, blob bundle. These look pretty similar. So we're going to do the same thing. So, so the URL search parameters is equal to window.location.search. So window.location.search. In case you want to know what that is, you can have a look in the console. So we can say the same code. So then we can look at our search parameters and we can say get, we can give it the key, which is statuses, and we should get passed. So now we can read the URL search parameters in our code. And what we want to do is, so because these might be an array, we want to get them and then we want to add to them. So search params dot, so if we add to the search params, I don't know how to do that. So set, I don't think we can add to it. Oh, we can append it. What's this do? No, same. So we can get and then we can add to it. I also don't know how this works with an array, and we're really running out of time. So, but I'm sure you can work that bit out. So here we want to add the search parameters. And then the next important thing we want to do, which I will live code, is how do we read the parameters? So in our Apollo query, which is somewhere on this page, variables. This is variables. Okay, so when we get our variables, we want to pass the variables to our Apollo query. And that variable will be it's called statuses. So we can say const statuses is equal to search params. I'm writing this a little bit backwards, but we'll get there. Statuses. And then the search params is equal to the new URL. How do we do it? URL search parameters. Yeah, and then give it the window location search. So now we can get the statuses and we can pass them to the Apollo query variables. So with this, now we should be able to read the URL. So we can test this because we sort of manually set statuses to pass. Let's hope this actually loads. I'm not sure why we're getting this error. Okay. I don't know why it keeps working and not working.
No, in your code, you don't finish your last code. Before that step, you did something to set.
Yeah, I'm not going to set them. I'm just going to set them manually so we can test to see if this works, because I think we only have a few minutes left. So
no, we have time.
We have time? Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, we have a lot of time. I mean, we can, normally it's like 45 to 50 minutes, but we can go like up to the hour, like until 7:30.
Perfect.
No, it's up to us.
So I'm still going to finish this part first, because what I want to do is be able to read the URL. So we need two things. We need to be able to write the URL. We need to be able to read the URL. And another important point is I'm only storing the state of the search bar in the URL. It's important to just have the one source of truth. We're not moving it to the state and then reading from the state. We're just reading directly from the search bar. So we have an error. Let's have a look at the network tab. We can have a look at the GraphQL actual payload first and see if our status is coming through. So you can see here, it is coming through. So we get the full path and we get the status. So that's coming through here. Is that clear? Does that make sense? And then we can read like, what is the problem? Message. So we got passed, but it is expecting one of these. So passed is not actually valid. Let's try success. and we should only have success, but we still don't. I expected that one to work. Oh, we have an internal. We have the same problem as was happening before. Okay, it looks like it's running. Great. So now we've only got success, all passed, as opposed to without this. Then we have everything. Cool. So our filter is working when we load the page, and then what we need to do is we want our filter to be set when we want our filter to be set when we update the filters. Cool. So again, we'll do this here just because it's the only place that we actually do something with the query. This is just giving you an error. So once we have our search parameters, we need to get our existing search parameters. Using a spell check extension there if you're interested. I can't spell. So existing parameters are search parameters dot get, and then we pass it statuses. Is that spelled right? Or is it spelled the same rather? Yeah, cool. So we want to get the statuses, and then we want to change them. So actually we'll just call this let. No, we need to add to them and we need to remove them. Okay, so we can't just change it because it will be, we can't just change it because it's going to be an array and we're looking at each item in the array now. So I didn't get this far when I was practicing. So now this is actual live code, and any of you can jump in with some ideas, please.
Right. Can you try to use the set method from the URL search param?
Sorry, you broke up there. Could you repeat?
Oh yeah, and there's a set method on the URL search params.
Yep. So we can say set. So we can say search params dot set. So that's fine. We can do that, and we will do that. So the way this works is then we have our filters. But what I want to know is how do we make filters, the existing filters and the new filters, and it should be whatever filters are. This is our list, right? Does that make sense? So we can just say like filters is equal to filters is equal to an array of the existing filters plus the new filters, which is actually filter, rather. So now we're adding each one as we receive it. But what happens if you remove it? So that is the thing I'm trying to work out now. So this would work if you're just adding, but we're not just adding. We might remove. So one thing we can do here is you can actually only search by one filter. So you can't actually add another. It doesn't let you. So we could assume, we could remove this, rewrite this code to say instead of for each, but here we have the reason why. Eventually, there will be more tokens available, and this code is written to scale for these tokens. So we need to consider how this will affect the future. There is some argument to say, like, let's write for now and not for later, because this was done 4 months ago. Because when we have new information, we might have a different way of thinking about it. So you could really rewrite this entirely and then say in your merge request, I don't like this, how this is done. Like, don't write code for the future, write code for now, and then in the future, then write it. You can argue that if you want. The good thing to remember is you don't need this code to be perfect or even great. You need to make sure it's working, because when you push the code in your merge request, you'll have at least 2 reviewers. I think for community, you get like a nice person to coach you with it. So that's helpful. But even for me, like I find myself like, oh, I don't want to push yet because it's not perfect, but I need to actually push and then push my code. I mean, finish my merge request, state my case, and then I'll get the pushback from the code reviewer. And then once they have approved, then I will get additional pushback from the maintainer before it's actually merged, and we can continue the conversation there. So there is an argument to say that, but we can give this a little bit more thought.
We reiterate the filters. Could you store the value somewhere after reach the update URLs for each runs?
You broke up a lot there, but what I think he said was we could save the details somewhere.
Yeah, wait.
Sorry, can I contribute?
Please.
Okay, James, I think this it's just enough use the append method, no? Because we are inside the for each, we are in a filter specific. So if filters is an array that is treated as an array in the line 138, so now we are in the element of this array. So if we have a status, so we are treating this status. So I think we need just to test, just call the search parents append. So to treat this status, if you have more than one status, this append you need to add this more status or remove this status, because the value will be status is A, status is B, status is C, not separated by column, but for many statuses, like the API shows. But if we append after, we need to treat to remove. So to delete, there is something to delete? No. Yeah, right. There is delete. So we need to
so append will add and delete will remove.
Yes. Yes. Okay. We can try my tips. You can try to append. We see how this works, and if we need to treat remove after, we can treat this merge of statuses. I don't know. This is my guess.
Let's try. So append.
Just to see if this idea will works.
We actually want to.
But instead of filters, it's yes, it has it. Filter. Yeah.
So now we should be able to add, and we can test this so far. Yeah. Fast.
No. What happened? No, there's an error. In console log show there's an error. Apologies.
That's odd. Let's
Search
debug
parents.
it and see what we get here.
Oh.
What is happening? Something is wrong.
Bad luck today.
I did update just before this call, just in case.
I believe you.
Did you try to restart the GDK?
Mhm.
Sometimes it actually fixes a lot of things.
I can try again. But then we'll have to wait. Oops. Let's just try and see if it's magically working. It is.
Okay.
Okay, so
So we have a filter.
what I want to know
Okay.
is this part working? That should.
Mhm.
So filter value data should be
Success.
success.
Okay.
So should have, we might need to, we then need to set it back to the URL. That is my mistake. So I can't exactly remember how we do this. Because what we want to do is update the URL, but we don't want to refresh the page. Do you remember how to do this? I think it's like
Push? No,
window
no. I don't remember.
history.
Yeah, something like this.
Let's just Google it.
Yeah. Go ahead. Push state.
Push state.
Push state. Window.history.push state. And then we want to print the URL. So into string. Okay, so
Okay, I see.
I can't remember how to do this. So
Well, you can try params to
I think
string. No? Yeah.
the reason why we should just be able to do like window.location.search is equal to, and then this to string, but that will refresh the page.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any other ideas?
URL search. There's another API because you're using URL search params. No set param. No, we don't know. Let's search. Let me see. Yeah. Window location search.
Just test it.
Path newer URL. You could try this one.
Okay.
And where can I put this line of code?
Just in the chat.
This work.
This is a quick and dirty solution. Maybe there's a better way to do it.
Oh, that of course didn't work. Search params. This is not right. Okay, let's try here. So because another thing to keep in mind, because this is getting pretty long, we would move this into a utility so that the component is easier to read, but that's a job for another when we clean up. Okay, let's test.
Yeah.
Great.
Mhm.
Cool. We have a
Also,
problem, but it might be unrelated. Sorry, someone else said something?
Yeah, I was taking a look at the common utilities on the GitLab code base, and maybe there's already a function to update the query params.
Right. I think this is crashing because this is coming back as null. I think. Not quite sure. Let's see. Come on.
Could you check the network to see the request?
Yeah.
And what?
So we'll update it again.
Okay. Pending. What?
Hey,
Mr.
we did it.
Maybe the previous errors, I don't know, was caused by your test. No, I don't know. That
Could be.
Maybe.
So let's try something else.
Yes, we need to do the management now.
Oh, so they're all adding.
Yeah, it's just appending web.
Okay, cool. So for the moment, because we only have one, we could just change it to set and set the one. And then when we eventually make this scalable, the whole function is going to have to be rewritten anyway, because at the moment, it just looks for one status. You can't have more than one. So instead of append, which you should do, which is correct, we can actually just do set, because we're going to overwrite the previous detail, because there is only one possible status in the search bar.
Yeah.
Is the only one? Okay.
Yeah,
There's
because
a restriction. Okay.
Because this is written funny, and there's at least there's notes to say why. It's written like this because eventually we'll have more than one filter, but currently we only have one filter. So we can write as if we only have one filter, and then next time we'll fix it.
Yep.
Really, come on.
Also, I found the set URL params inside the URL utility file.
Okay.
That basically has most of the things we are trying to do already implemented.
Cool. This one, URL utility.
Yep.
Right.
Nice.
That's already handling, for example, array of params and all of those things.
Cool. Great. So yeah, it is a really good point, and we should do that. But for now, I just want something that works.
Yeah.
So that we can finish, and one of you can complete the code and get your free backpack. Unless we all get free backpacks, because we did it together, right?
That's a good point.
Thanks for the assist. Just a friendly reminder that if you open an MR until the end of July, and it's going to be merged anytime during August, except on the website /handbook, you're gonna get a GitLab backpack
with the brand new brand.
exactly.
Another test, you change the URL to see if the for cancelled. I don't remember the another, to see if the filter will be updated.
You mean?
Yeah, you can do this by bookmark and test.
Let's try a couple times. Let's see what's wrong with my GDK. Okay, go. So one problem here is it's not.
Yes,
we're not filling the search bar, and also I noticed if we have failed, if we update it, this works, but if we clear it, that doesn't update the URL either. So yeah, whoever's going to do this, there's a couple of extra little things for you to do so that you earn your backpack. But yeah, that's how I do it. Shall I stop the sharing, or do you want to keep going?
We want to see you struggle.
I've had enough struggling. I mean, yeah, if there's extra time, you're happy to answer any questions you have. Yeah.
I have one question. You started to show us you get the branch name from the issue. This process, this initial process, can be applied for backend or another team, or just for front-end team that we do this way?
No, everything. Yeah.
Okay.
So you should be able. So the button says create branch. So you can create the branch by just clicking the button.
Okay.
But I found it would take a little bit to update, and then I'll run fetch and I can't find it.
Yeah.
I found it easier to just copy that name and put it in the terminal. But I mean, maybe that's another thing that someone can create an issue and fix themselves.
There's also another problem for us contributors, because we can't actually create branches on the main project, because we only can create branches on our forks.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't consider that.
No problem.
For my part, I have a last question for today. How I didn't see that, but I need to study more. But how could the team manage it? Because we are here working together. But let's think if Marco and me want to work the same issue. How we both create the merge request. How can I work together? How can I control this to not how could I say, spend work how could I say this, yeah, don't spend time and work together, or one person work on this. How this is managed in the project in GitLab?
I can give you my personal opinion.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think, because you said you teach students, right? Is that right? So I guess what you're asking is, can I have a couple of students work on the same topic and they can work together?
That's it. Yeah.
So this is possible. They can have, they can work off the same Git branch. They could add commits, but it is so messy. Even when you have professionals working on the same branch, it is just so bad, so uncomfortable, and so awful.
But this
you run into the biggest problem is like Git merge conflicts. Which, unless you really know Git, you can't fix this. You can't teach students this. Like, give them 2 years in their first engineering job, and then they'll be able to deal with merge conflicts, in my opinion. That's how long it took me, and I tried real hard. What I think is a far better way of doing it, and how we generally do it at GitLab, is split the task into smaller issues and have one person work on one issue.
Okay.
So if a task is big enough to have 2 people working on it, split it in 2.
Okay.
If you really want 2 people working on the same task, same issue, same branch, then they should do pair programming. And
Okay.
it's like working on one, it's like working by yourself, but with someone
Okay.
else.
Like we're working now. Okay.
Exactly the way we're working now.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So we do pair programming on the front end team. We do pair programming every Friday afternoon, or Friday afternoon European time, anyway.
Okay.
And so this is really useful, and it's a good way to learn. But I really think that giving students one task with multiple branches is just all kinds of bad ideas.
Okay. Answer. Okay. Thank you.
Because it also means, like, when you're working on the same branch, you can only change just such a tiny amount. Like, often at GitLab, you'll see some poorly worded variable or function that you want to rewrite. And if you do that, it affects so many other places. It should actually be done in a separate merge request. So you should fix your issue that you are working on, change as little code as possible, and then create a new issue and then fix that poorly worded variable, named variable that you found.
Yep.
Also, if I can add one thing, on one, you can also create more merge requests based on one issue. I mean, if you want to have only one issue and split it up on more merge requests, that's also an option.
Yeah, you can do that. Generally at GitLab, it's recommended you split the issue, because you can have one issue be an epic, and then that epic can contain however many issues you want.
If you
and
have
that epic can contain epics even.
if you have epics, yes.
If you have what, sorry?
Epics.
Oh, right, yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, so I have a question. So I just today signed up for the GitLab self-managed premium. So from where do I get that license file to activate premium features in local GDK?
Did you send me a message? I think yes, you sent me a message.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I replied to your message. You can try for the free trial, and when you're done with the free trial, in the development guide, in the contributing guide, sorry, there is, in the Get Help section, there is a link where you can request for development purposes, for contribution purposes, a license.
Okay, in the documentation, I saw that there we have to set some path to the license file, but I did not receive any license file yet.
But have you opened an issue? I don't see an issue.
Okay.
Wait,
So I still have like 30 days free trial.
Yeah, so in the contributing guide, that I paste here on Zoom, if you go on the Get Help section, there is a link from where you can request the license. It's just like opening an issue with your information.
Yeah.
When you do that, I'm gonna take it over, and then I'm gonna open another request, and then you're gonna receive the license.
Yeah, sure, fine, thanks.
No worries. Any other questions? If you don't have any other questions, I will like to take the opportunity to thank you all for joining. James, for walking us through how to your thought process, actually, and everyone for participating. It was really nice. One of my favorite office articles so far. So yeah, if you need any help in general, there's the help section in the contributing guide that's gonna get you to all our communication platforms. In the agenda here in the document, of this meeting. There are also a lot of really nice resources like videos, a playlist with YouTube videos on how to get started, and also a link to our community run Discord platform. And yeah, just want to thank you. I'll stop talking now.
Thank you. Thank you, James.
Thanks, guys. Nice to meet you.
Thanks you.
Then,
Thank you.
nice to meet you all, and see you hopefully next week.
Yep.
On another office hours
Yep.
call.
Okay. See you.